Καλησπέρα.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 9th event of the series Dialogue. This time, as you can see and as we can see, we're meeting outside, outdoors. It's the very heart of the summer, and it's just before the World Cup will be completed. Most of you, and those of you who are with us today, so all of my speakers here on the panel are select speakers. You know them all very well. They monitor closely everything happening this year in the FIFA World Cup. So let us now talk about the most popular sport in the world. And you know, the ball, as one knows, characterizes and defines many things. It defines one person's life. It also defines behavior and culture. It educates. So we will try to tamper with or touch upon the many facets of football, whether we're talking about the best events in flashy football stadiums or in slums in the world. Without further ado, let me welcome all of those of you who are present here today. Please allow me to start with the lady of our group, Mrs. Krisa Kourobilia. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Krisa. She's a referee. She's in the highest division. She's an assistant referee in the Super League. We also have Mr. Andreas Drakopoulos, the co-president of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. I know that you are a football lover, a football fan. You know a lot about the world of football. So let us see what you have to say. Tell us your personal view on this, but also what the Stavros Niarchos Foundation has to say about what happens in the field of play. We know that a football pitch can reflect society in many ways. It has boundaries, it has rules. It has opposing teams, it has colleagues, so there's a lot in common with society. Now, we also have with us Ed Milson. Ed Milson, he is a World Cup champion with the Brazilian national team in 2002 and European champion with FC Barcelona in 2006. Thank you very much for being here, Ed Milson. We were talking just before the event started, so the Greek spectators loves you, and that's very important, and it's good for us to have you with us here today to talk about what happens on the pitch, but also outside. I'm sure that you have a lot to tell us about the social work that you do and the added value that football has in relation to society. We also have Jordi Cardenet, first vice president of FC Barcelona. Thank you, Jordi, for being with us. We will have the opportunity to actually learn about the experience of Barcelona Foundation. We'll also learn about FootballNet. This is a network that actually uses as a medium football. It focuses on refugees and refugee children, and it promotes cooperation, aspiration, respect, so very many universal values. So, Georgie, you'll help us look at all these facets. Antonis Antoniadis is with us, a veteran football player. He's much loved, very popular. He has a lot of experience regarding football. With all due respect, I will speak to him in the singular. We've all agreed to speak in the singular and not in the plural. So thank you, Antonis, for being with us. And we also have Alexander Kitraev. He's a historian. Alexander has a lot to share with us, very interesting, if you like, discussion on football. One might ask, what is a historian doing on the pitch? But we know that Alexander knows a lot about football as a sport. So we will talk about the history of football and various points that are worthy of mention. And Antonis Karpetopoulos is with us. He's a sports journalist. Hello, Antoni, and we will try to chair the discussion. We'll talk about what happens in the field of play, but also in relation to society. I will be dealing with the latter. And of course, we have with us Miguel Capuano. He is the interpreter who will be helping us out here. Thank you very much, Miguel, for your contribution. So let me begin with the speakers right away without further further ado, and I'd like a first introductory remark from each of you on anything that comes to mind. What comes to mind when you hear the word football? And I'm going to tell you, and I'm not an expert on football matters, but I know for a fact that everything revolves around the FIFA World Cup. I watched the last match. I wanted to see who would go to the finals, but I remember in Lipsi, which is a remote island, and there the children are more numerous than the adults. So what actually brought all ages, young and old, together, because they don't have much to do on the island, is to play in the football stadium. It's very well organized, and in the same team you can have a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old. But at the same time, I think this is a good way to kick off the discussion. I don't know, Krisa, if you'd like to start. Maybe you can go first. An introductory remark, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When I hear the word football, I think of endless hours of play. And all children from our neighborhood, from primary school age, well, we all used to play in our neighborhood football. At least I used to play after school till late in the evening. So endless hours of play. So we used to play football. Andreas, what comes to mind? Well, first of all, I would like to warmly thank Anna and all my colleagues at the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, because every event of the series Dialogues requires a lot of preparation. So we'd like to thank everybody who organize these dialogues. I'd also like to warmly thank Mimis Papaioannou, who's here with us today. And of course, Nikos Sarganis, Mimis Tomazos, Antonis Antoniadis. But I'd like to thank Mimi in particular, because there is some continuity here. And the truth is that 15 years ago, Mimis and I got together. I had read a book that he'd written back then. So we met afterwards and we started a program together. We launched a program, meaning the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, together with Mimis. And what we wanted was for Mimis to go to remote islands and different remote areas of Greece and talk about fair play. And through this program, many tournaments were held with children, and over 5,000 boys and girls participated in these tournaments in an 11-year period. So thank you very much, Mimi, for your contribution. So we're working closely now with Barcelona. This is based on the philosophy that we have as a Stavros Niarchos Foundation. We believe in the power of football. Football is a sport that can be played anywhere by anyone. So it's very powerful. And we know that you have to show responsibility, you have to show sensitivity, everybody involved in football, that is, because it's not just a sport. We're talking about something happening in the public sphere, and many people from different walks of life play together on the pitch, and they learn a lot about life, because I believe that a football match is a reflection of life. And that's all I had to say. Thank you, Mimis. We'd like to thank all of you, and I give the floor to the others. Ed Milson.
Buenas tardes. La verdad, el fútbol ha cambiado mi vida. Yo creo que soy una...
Football has changed my life. I'm a better person thanks to football. What I'm trying to do is to show people that football can change the life of many people.
Προσδώσω και στους άλλους ανθρώπους.
Jordi.
Fútbol para mí es pasión.
For me, it's about passion. It's about emotion. Emotions that I cannot really explain. It's football and everything that is linked to football. Well, we are here, for example, not to play a game, but we are here to discuss what comes before and after playing football. It's about people at the end of the day. It is, as I said, passion. I was born in a family where every Sunday we would go to the football stadium to watch the match. I grew up among Barcelona fans, and today it is my great honor to be member of the board of Barcelona. So you understand this is not related to football per se. It has a social dimension.
Το ποδόσφαιρο πραγματικά είναι πάθος, είναι συναισθήματα τα οποία είναι δύσκολα να εκφραστούν, είναι δύσκολο να εκφράσουμε όλα όσα μας προσφέρει, όλα όσα μας δίνει το ποδόσφαιρο. Αλλά εδώ ήρθαμε όχι για να δούμε κάποιον αγώνα, εδώ ήρθαμε για να μιλήσουμε για το ποδόσφαιρο, για το πριν και για το μετά. Για τα άτομα, για τους ανθρώπους, για το πάθος που μας δίνει το ποδόσφαιρο. Για μένα το ποδόσφαιρο ήταν κάτι το οποίο ήταν συνυφασμένο με την οικογένειά μου. Θυμάμαι κάθε Κυριακή πηγαίναμε στο ποδόσφαιρο και μέσω του ποδοσφαίρου δημιουργούσαμε αυτό που λέγεται το ελμπαρσελονίσμο, ο βαρκελονισμός, δηλαδή η αγάπη προς την Μπαρτσελώνα. Και βεβαίως είναι σημαντικό για τις κοινωνικές προεκτάσεις τις οποίες μας δίνει το ποδόσφαιρο και τις οποίες μπορούμε να εκφράσουμε.
Αντώνη.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους.
Good afternoon, all. Let me first thank the people who, despite the heat, came here to follow the discussion. And then let me welcome Matt Milson, my colleague and the Vice President of Barcelona, a very big team for world football. Welcome to Greece. As the chairman just did, I can but mention three veterans, Damazos, Papaioannou and Sarganis, who are here, who, as soon as they heard about this event, they came here to attend. So, what about football? It is the best known, more played than any other sport on the planet, irrespective of economic systems, irrespective of country. It is loved because you can play football in a box 5 on 5 meters with just a goal. You cannot do that with any other sport. It is then the most democratic sport in the world. You can be tall, you can be short, you can be fat, or you can shoot with your left foot or your right foot, but there's space for everyone. That is why football is a world-class social phenomenon. So, what about those who have played football for weeks or years? Well, thanks to football, I, as a player, went around the world for free. I went around the world with Panathinaikos. We were adored by people. We were criticized by people because we didn't bring about the expected result. But this is about democracy, and this is about what football really is. But football, at the end of the day, has rules. It's not anarchy. No, there are rules. And in order to cleanse football, in order to make it better, we need more rules, and we need these rules to be enforced. Because quite often we have rules, but these are not enforced. So I can spend hours talking about football, but I will stop here to give the floor to others. But one last thing, all this is related to ideology, to the economy, to our society, to everything. Just as an example, you remember World Cup finals or Olympic Games. Everyone was watching. Tavernas, restaurants, cinemas would stop operating because people would go home to watch the match, the big final. The god of sports. So welcome once again to our friends from Spain. Well, this brings me, says Ms. Pusduku, to our first question. Yes, of course, it affects, but is it also affected by politics, by the economy, etc.? Food for thought for the rest of the discussion. Alexandros. Well, first of all, it is a game, as Chrisa said. It's my youth. I remember myself crossing Alexandros Avenue to watch Mimis Damazos. I remember myself crying when Aik of Mimis Papaioannou was winning 3-2 2 against Panathinaikos back in 1965. But there's many, many other things. Well, someone would say it anyway, but let me say it tonight. You remember what Bill Shankly had said, the Liverpool manager, who had said at some point in time, football, it's not about life or death. It is something much more important. And this stresses the very essence of football. It is game, it is joy, it is our youth, it is emotion, and it is precisely the social and economic dimension. Antonis, let's talk about the World Cup, about our Mundial. You don't want my definition? Yes, of course. But try to get us in the mood of these days. Well, I listened carefully to all other speakers. Now, last Sunday, a memorial service took place in Esmini, a friend that we lost after the notorious 1-7 Brazil-Germany. It was, of course, just a coincidence. Actually, he was a fan of Germany, so he enjoyed himself, but he died on the following day. Well, 4 years later, we organized this memorial service. And I'm saying this because our historian here referred to Bill Shankly. So we went to the memorial service, and then the priest said, who do you think is going to win? Who's going to lift the World Cup? Well, this is football. This is what I meant. There are no limits, you see. There are no boundaries between football and all the rest. Yes, it's not a life or death question. It's who will win the World Cup, and this is why we keep watching. Now, the World Cup, of no news really. I don't know if it was a good one, as most say, or it was just another World Cup. Well, I like all World Cups, and I also like the memories of World Cups. Each and every World Cup leaves behind memories, fond memories, and then everything is history. And then it's about this sense of justice, a relaxing feeling of justice. For example, we have Croatia at the final, who played well. This cannot be underplayed. They played well, they have good players, and then France. Which embarrasses all racists. It's a multinational team. They have all the races, and all these young people, young players, coordinate and play together. They play for their team. They were the favorites from the beginning, and now they are at the final. And of course, we had this surprise about Croatia, which is good, of course. So let me go back to this sense of justice. It's the VAR. It's about technology, which helps us get the best results. So I believe that young boys who have watched this World Cup of 2018 will become better people because of this sense of justice. So the World Cup for football leaves a mark on very young people. So it's an educational World Cup.
Well, let me just say on my part that there are academies with many young girls who play football. So let's also include girls. I always believed that girls are more detached from drama in relation to boys. I'm talking about the World Cup. I'm not talking about other things. Krisa, what about girls? Krisa, please say something. Krisa. I would like to say, and you know this very well, because as I said, this is the ninth event of the series Dialogue. So in these monthly events, we engage in dialogue, not with one another, not only between the speakers, but with spectators, with the audience. So if anyone wants to take the floor, please do so. You're free to intervene. You can also ask questions. And those of us who are watching us live on the internet can also intervene. So it's not just the people who are physically present here today, but everybody who's watching through live streaming through the Stavros Niarchos Foundation webpage. And I'd like to say that dialogues are an initiative of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And every month we are hosted here at the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center. So www.stavrosniarchos/live and questions. So we are waiting for your questions, and you can send them to us via the internet, and we can ask the speakers these questions. So, Krisa, a comment on the Mundial that we are now watching, and then I want Ed Milson to speak. Thank you. The truth of the matter is that things were somewhat different back then. And in a World Cup, we're always waiting for Argentina and Brazil to reach the finals. And the fact that they did not make it to the finals has made things more complicated. I don't know if you agree, Andonis. But because I like being on the side of the weak, I'm happy that they were not able to make it to the finals. So I wait for the finals with bated breath. Ed Milson.
Demonstra.
So if we've seen one thing in the World Cup is the balance that can be achieved through football. We know that Germany, Brazil, Argentina, the favorites, they did not make it to the finals. So we expect something different to happen. Others were able to make it for the finals. And we saw again that teams from Morocco and Egypt, teams that were not traditionally champions, were able to go ahead and to move forward and to show a great presence, if you like. So what can I say? As for us, the Brazilians, these are difficult moments. We thought we'd move forward. We didn't make it in the way that we wanted, but we have left an important footprint, and we've actually been able to do quite well, but we were not able to make it to the finals. And it's a day of mourning in Brazil, as if we've lost a loved one or something like that. But what can we do? In Brazil, for someone to win the Mundial is a life purpose. It's something that one strives for in his or her career. So Brazil believes that the Mundial is something of national concern. So what we want to do is make a good impression, and we know that we are a balanced team more than many other teams.
Τώρα, βλέπουμε μια ισορροπία. Αυτό δείχνει μια ισορροπία. Είδαμε ομάδες οι οποίες δεν μπορέσανε να συμμετάσχουν, όπως ήταν η Ολλανδία, όπως ήταν η Ιταλία, που δεν πήγανε καν. Είδαμε άλλες ομάδες όπως η Αίγυπτος, όπως το Ιράν, οι οποίες μπόρεσαν να πάνε στα τελικά του παγκοσμίου κυπέλου. Άρα βλέπουμε ότι υπάρχει και σε αυτές τις χώρες μια ανάπτυξη. Εμείς βεβαίως στη Βραζιλία δεν τα καταφέραμε. Τελειώσαμε λίγο άσχημα, γιατί νομίζαμε ότι θα μπορούσαμε να πάμε και ακόμα πιο μακριά. Και βεβαίως αποκλειστήκαμε. Και πρέπει να σας πω ότι στη Βραζιλία αυτό είναι σαν να πενθείς κάποιον από την οικογένειά σου. Είναι κάτι το οποίο αποτελεί ένα πένθος. Γιατί στη Βραζιλία έχουμε ένα όνειρο. Η κατάκτηση του παγκοσμίου κυπέλου, γενικά η πρόοδος, είναι σαν ένα όνειρο. Εγώ από μικρό παιδί θυμάμαι ότι ήθελα σαν όνειρο. Ονειρευόμουν να παίξω στην Εθνική Βραζιλία, ονειρευόμουν να κερδίσω με την Εθνική το παγκόσμιο κύπελο.
Jordi.
Jordi? I listened to you carefully, and something came to mind in this particular competition, but just like in the previous century, Brazil, Argentina, the Netherlands, England, So back then we had a great presence and a great performance of these teams. But now we've come to realize that the countries like Brazil, Argentina, that traditionally had a good performance, did not do so well this time. But this has also happened in the past. The good thing is that either before or after, those who have participated in this passionate sport, okay, they may have been opponents in the field of play, but they have showed a culture that has inspired the youth. And we see that football has an educational role to play. It shapes one's mindset. So we know that football is a great equalizer. It makes everybody equal. It makes us understand that in certain things we are the same, and this is something we enjoy.
Είναι ότι ακριβώς αυτά τα οποία στο προηγούμενο αιώνα ήταν κατά κάποιο τρόπο στερεότυπα. Δηλαδή, βλέπαμε ομάδες και ξέραμε οι ομάδες όπως η Βραζιλία, όπως η Αγγλία, όπως η Αργεντινή κλπ. Θα έπαιζαν με έναν δικό τους τρόπο, θα έδιναν ένα άλλο έναυσμα. Έχουν σταματήσει. Δηλαδή, πλέον βλέπουμε ότι ενώ το ποδόσφαιρο παλιά ήταν συγκεκριμένο αναήπειρο, βλέπαμε την Αργεντινή, όπως είπα, βλέπαμε τη Βραζιλία κλπ. Τώρα αυτή η διαφορά, αυτή η διάσταση έχει μειωθεί. Βλέπουμε πλέον κάτι πιο ομογενοποιημένο και μιλάμε πλέον για ένα ποδόσφαιρο το οποίο αποτελεί ένα στερεότυπο και αυτό δείχνει ολοένα και περισσότερο την ομοιότητα που αποκτά το ποδόσφαιρο από ήπειρο σε ήπειρο και ουσιαστικά μιλάμε για μια πιο κοινή φάση και έναν πιο κοινό τρόπο να βλέπουμε το ποδόσφαιρο και να παίζεται το ποδόσφαιρο.
I think we should stop talking about the present. Let's go back to the past, wherever you'd like to go back in the past. So share with us, Andrea, maybe you can go first, a favorite moment of yours, a favorite situation, something that has stuck in your mind, something that you actually remember. Well, I think this goes way back, as Andonis mentioned. It goes back to our childhood years. And I think that you always remember these moments you experienced as a child, certain football games. Back then, I liked Leeds in England, and there were good moments and bad moments. But I think that you actually learn a lot. First of all, you must remain loyal to a team. That's one thing. And you have all the fond memories, but also some bad memories, unpleasant memories. So this is a life lesson. And the games by Leeds, and there was actually one game in Thessaloniki, and people might remember a referee, Mr. Michas, who had destroyed Leeds. A lot was heard about that. So these are life lessons. These are memories that stay with you, and it actually helps you remember all this. Can we see something? No, we can't. So, Andonis, you have the floor. I have to make a statement here, but tell me your favorite moment. Don't you want me to discuss that later? Do you want me to do it now? Well, if you want me to do it now, I'll do what you say. And I have scored some goals in my life, around 1,017 in total, in official matches. The best goal, the most important one, has been recognized by Mimis Domazos, is the goal scored on the 9th of March, 9 o'clock exactly. I was number 9 minutes before the match ended, and this was the 9th in the Champions League, the 9th goal scored in the Champions League. Maybe thanks to this goal, we reached the finals against Ajax. Wembley. This goal was the most defining goal in my career. Of course, I've scored many goals, many strange goals, many particular goals, many lucky goals. I don't think that you always target a specific corner, but because it marked the course of Panathinaikos F.C. in Wembley, because it's the first time ever that a Greek team made it to the finals of the Champions League. And let me just say for some here, here because there's some confusion here. There's some confusion that needs to be dispelled. It used to be called the Champions World Cup, and then it was changed to Champions League because some people may say, but they didn't have the Champions League back then. It was the World Champions Cup, but it's the same that was established back in 1955. That's just for the sake of history so that people can learn a lot more from us. And now let me say something about Mundial that we've been watching, that we've been following closely, if you allow me. I'd like to make some comments. First of all, for the first time, Italy was absent since 1930 when Mundial was first established. It's the first time ever that Italy has been absent. This has never happened before. The Netherlands were also absent. This is yet another great football force. Chorus's team also, which was the same generation as us that played in Wembley. Cruyff's team was a great team. It was like an orchestra, like a band. Argentina left early, and Uruguay the same. This has never happened before. Uruguay was the first country that won in 1930 the Mundial. Now, I'm going to be holier than thou, says the speaker. And I think that Brazil, with Belgium, in two situations, in two phases, I was talking to Antonis Karpetopoulos that they could have received a penalty. One was a penalty and a sent-off. So if Brazil equalized, and I'd like to say that this is a country with many wins in the Mundial. They have won the Mundial more than any other team, and this is why we have so many supporters all over the world supporting Brazil. It's a matter of life or death. Other people commit suicide if Brazil is defeated, and now they ended up 8th or 7th. So I think they were not vindicated. We know that Spain, that Germany left early, and these were very strong teams. And I agree with the previous speakers that football popularity has gone up all over the world. We have coaches from all over Europe going to other countries in the world. They teach them the tricks and tips of the game, so the quality has gone up of football all over the world. And maybe they're trying to solve their problems. They want to make a good income for themselves and their families, and they also wanted to have football recognized all over the world. And we see that they're teams without a tradition in the past, and we see that now they have a strong team, and people wonder how this came about. And we see that static positions were actually became very popular. We see set pieces that played an important role, meaning we're talking about foul or penalty. And of course, VAR also played, but we had a lot of goals being scored from set pieces, most of them actually. And if we actually make a flashback, if we go back, we'll see that there were many fouls in the shin area. Many defenders, many halves. Actually, there were 9 fouls in one match that were deliberate. And I don't know if the referees ignored this. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Kourombila. A lot actually target the shin. And we see that these are very dangerous situations because somebody might sprain the ankle, and we see that those who did this did not suffer the consequences. The whistle was not blown by the referees in these cases, and I think that VAR helped a bit, and then it was snubbed by the referees. When we had the Brazil-Belgium game, the referee didn't go to see whether this was actually a penalty or not, because we saw that some football players were protesting, and I seem to not want to talk about the present. I am stuck in the past. I think I've actually said enough.
Edmilson had scored a goal in a World Cup. When you give him the floor again, let him speak about how it feels scoring in a World Cup. This is a unique opportunity. Yes, you're right, Antonis. Thank you. I will not forget. But Alexandros, tell us about your unique moment. Well, for me, My biggest moment was when Brazil doesn't score, which is rare. And I remember the World Cup of 1970. Pelé takes a header and Gordon Banks blocks the ball, and this has remained in history as one of the greatest blocks in football's history. Well, the blocks are really part of football's history. It's on the screen, by the way. Gordon Banks in blue. Yes, here it is. It's a header, and Banks must make a very complex calculation in his mind. He extends his hand, and even Banks said, I wasn't sure whether push the ball in the goal or out. It's an iconic moment. England against Brazil, mind you, two of the world powers in football. Well, the good news in this World Cup is that England's role was restored, because for England, fair play, football, the educational role of football, well, this is England. So this moment from 1970 this is my favorite moment. I'm 15 years old and I'm in a room full of English friends. Maybe this played a role. Antonis Karpetopoulos, what is your unforgettable moment? Nikos Sarganis has done two better blocks, one with Denmark and one with Offi, a Greek team. But what's the magic of World Cup? You see, when you watch the World Cup, these moments remain in history because they have a special glamour. It's as if all the lights of the planet are shed on this particular game, and everything becomes more impressive than it is in reality. So if Sarganis had done this block with Denmark during a World Cup and not during the qualifiers, probably Sarganis would be on this very screen today. And I'm not exaggerating. This is the World Cup. It is a projector. It's the light that is shed on these great moments. Of course, Maradona scored with his hands or feet, etc. But I remember another match, France against Kuwait, if I remember well. World Cup 1982. France was leading 5-0, 5-1, I think, and then the Arab Emir took the team and went away. He was so cross with the result. So you see, even for the Arab world, football is not a game. It's not a joke. Well, we have started receiving various messages through the internet about the democratic nature of football, but it is also a field where racist feelings are expressed. We'll come to that. Wilson, oh no, Alexandros. Yes, the other side of football. I have things to say, but Edmilson, tell us about your goal. Well, for that World Cup, that goal was, of course, important. For me, it was a moment of creativity. It came, of course, spontaneously. I did the same thing playing in the street with my friends. So it came out naturally. So this goal came, as I said, spontaneously, but the goal, of course, in the World Cup proved very, very important. I was among the starting 11 in the first match, then I stayed on the bench. But after this goal, I was always among the starting 11. The manager could not keep me on the bench. So that was a great gift for me.
Γκολ είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό και πάρα πολύ σημαντικό ήταν σε εκείνο το Μουντιάλ. Ήταν αποτέλεσμα ενός αυτοσχεδιασμού. Ήταν όμως κάτι το οποίο το σκεφτόμουν, προσπαθούσα να το πραγματοποιήσω ήδη από το δρόμο. Ήταν ένα φανταστικό τέρμα το οποίο κατάφερα. Στον πρώτο αγώνα είχα παίξει βασικός και στο δεύτερο μετά ήμουνα εκτός. Και μετά από εκεί και πέρα, αφού πέτυχα τον γκολ, πραγματικά ο προπονητής μου δεν μπορούσε να βρει τρόπο να με βγάλει εκτός ομάδος.
Νομίζω ήταν το δεύτερο ωραιότερο γκολ σε εκείνο το παγκόσμιο.
I think I remember that was the second most beautiful goal after Ronaldinho's goal. It wasn't so much the way I want to do it. Actually, I happened to be there, and I had also scored from the center line. Now, Chrisa, what is your favorite moment? But in the meantime, a friend has sent an SMS. Despite your consideration that this is very democratic, football is also very racist or totalitarian. Alexandros, yes, of course, racist views are expressed. Dictators have tried to benefit from football for their own purposes, but this is why we are here tonight discussing football. Because football has its own value, because people try to push their ideology, even extreme ideologies, through football. They will use football, not another sport, for this purpose. So for those of us who aspire to good football, democratic football, well, we can do things. In 1978, I remember Argentina won the World Cup. At the time, there was a long discussion about the agenda of Fidel in Argentina, that the agenda used Argentina's feet for their own purposes. However, Luis Cesar Menotti, the manager, said, no, this victory of Argentina does not belong to the dictatorship, to the junta. Argentinian players played for Argentina. We played for our people and not for the junta. So, yes, of course, there will always be racist slogans and efforts to benefit from football. But for us who love football, yes, there are things that can be done. Antonis Karpetopoulos. I would like to respond to our friend the following. Try to see the big picture. Yes, of course, there are racists in football, but there are racists everywhere, in all walks of life. However, football can stand above racism. You know where Kylian Mbappé was born? In a neighborhood where the film Hatred has been shot. It's unbelievable that from this marginal neighborhood, a champion was born. There is a school there, the Boni School. Nothing special. It is not doesn't belong to a big team. It's a football school in the Boni area. Poor neighborhood in Paris. And it is not just Mbappé. There are 4 players, world-class players, who grew up in this very neighborhood. Don't forget that. So, apart from some stupid who will express their racism in football, don't forget that, well, football creates champions irrespective of the color of their skin, irrespective of their origins, etc., etc. In the 70s, we'll have Viv Anderson in the national team. Then John Barnes, a big star. He was also singing with the New Order. You will not find this in any other sport. It goes beyond education, beyond theater. So these young people, these talented young boys are adopted by football in an unprecedented way. Andreas and then Jordi again, in order to then discuss another issue. What about racism in general? What about racism against refugees? We know that in Greece, in Lesbos, etc. The Barcelona Foundation knows that. The Stavros Niarchos Foundation is doing things about that. So what is the role that we can play for democracy, for tolerance? What can we do for these young children from a tender age? A child that has reached Greece without a mother or father from any country, any city.
So maybe Chrisa can go first and then I can take the floor. No, let me go first. Okay. The one thing I'd like to say about racism, we have Ed Milson with us, and I'm not saying this because he's here today, but I watched his videos and I recommend watching these videos. They're about his life. So you can understand why he decided to set up his foundation and how he offers assistance, how he offers help, not what he gives back, but how he offers this assistance. I don't know if we have it. Maybe we have it so we can show it, and then we'll hear about his life. But I think this is the best counter argument, because many people say that football has also some bad traits. But I believe that it's a very powerful tool, and we see that it has an impact on society. And I think this video is a wonderful example. It's a wonderful example because we know there are a lot of people there who've become very famous, who actually are known to everybody. So it's not just about football teams being equal. So we see that leaders are no longer that important, be it Messi or Ronaldo. I think that team spirit now is more important than anything else in football. So let's see if we have this video. It's a video by Ed Milson, and then we'll see how Ed Milson ended up doing what he's doing, because I think this is the best counter argument, because a lot of people say a lot of negative things about football, but I think this is the best way to refute these arguments. Let's watch this video now, and then we can talk about FootballNet and also about Ed Milson's work. Thank you very much.
Meu nome é Edmilson José Gomes de Moraes, nasci em Taquaritinga, no interior de São Paulo, e dia eu tive...
Miss Ed Wilson. I was born in Sao Paulo. I once had a dream. My dream became a reality here. This is where everything started. When I was 10 years old, I came here to play football. I then became 11 and 12. I used to lie on the grass and wonder what I would do in my life. And I felt I had some identity here. I felt I was me. It all started when in 2002, my country won the Mundial. I went back to my city and I wanted to give something back to the people. So the Ed Milton Foundation aims at social inclusion. First of all, we're men and women before we become footballers, lawyers, or journalists. So we have 300 children participating from the age of 6 to the age of 14. We have 60 young people participating in vocational training programs. And now in 2012, we have another 120 people participating in the evening programs. Villa São Sebastião is a neighborhood where there's a lot of violence, where there's drug dealing, and it's a marginalized neighborhood. There are children that have no food on their plate, children who often don't even stay with their parents. Often the mother or father are in prison. We're trying to identify children that are living in precarious conditions. They come to the foundation with very low self-esteem, without believing in themselves and their ability. They don't like their appearance. They underestimate themselves. One day we were eating hot dogs, and a child kept gulping down one hot dog after the other, and he actually kept one. And then the person with him said, "Aren't you going to eat your food?" And the child answered, "I'm not going to eat it. I want to give it to my mother." Giulio always needed something. We don't have many skills and we don't have many opportunities. It's not easy at all. I know that eventually we'll have a home and we will be happy, hopefully in the future. So we also educate the parents. We work with them socially, psychologically, because there's no point in having a child here all day, going home, and the parents being in a bad state. I know it's difficult. I know that you have to try 4 times to help a person learn something. I don't have a choice, but my children have a choice. I want what's best for my children. The Ed Milson Foundation is like a family to me. It's a part of my family. You visit a family and the mother looks at you in the eye and says, "Thank you," because without the foundation, I wouldn't have such a close-knit family today. And if it weren't for the foundation, and if I didn't take my children to the foundation, they might have been involved in drugs or in theft. And in judo, I learned all about self-defense. Like this, I imagine how I'm going to be when I grow up. I know what I want to do. I want to do all sorts of things. So it gives me hope. It helps me. The foundation helps other people as well. Edmondson is my tower. It's my castle. I want to be a princess. I feel free. When I dance, I feel that I can do everything. I can do whatever I want. I can be whoever I want to be. So our job is to make children believe in their abilities and themselves, believe in their future, trust themselves. The foundation is a platform. It's a springboard so that everybody involved can actually do what they want to do in life. We give them the opportunity to dream big, to be ambitious, to have inspirations. By offering them a good education, we can transform a city or even a country. So Takaractitinga is something very important. I hope that this method of teaching and social inclusion can spread to the entire world, at least can spread to the whole of Brazil and elsewhere. I have a dream. Do you have a dream too? My name is Edmilson Jose Gomes de Moraes. I was born in Taquaritinga in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I know that a ball can change one's life.
Edmilson, θα θέλαμε να ακούσουμε.
Edmilson, over to you after this video. Tell us more. Thanks to the video, we got to know just a small part of the work of your foundation. You help us understand how you foster the dreams of these young boys and girls and how these boys and girls become active members of a society. Well, every time I watch this video, I get emotional. We people do not understand what children go through in a country like Brazil. I could have stayed there, back there, like many friends of mine, but football gave me the possibility to grow up and go back and help those in need. This is the absolutely least I can do, because football has given me so much that what I have done is really too little. As I said, I might have stayed back there. I wouldn't have gotten married. I wouldn't have a family. I could have been involved with drugs or alcohol. But football changed everything. So that was the best goal I marked, not the one in the World Cup.
Τα παιδιά, όμως το ποδόσφαιρο είναι εκείνο το οποίο μου έδωσε τη δυνατότητα να μπορέσω και εγώ να αναπτυχθώ και να μπορέσω να κάνω τελικά κάτι για αυτά τα παιδιά. Και θα έλεγα ότι ό,τι και να κάνω για αυτά τα παιδιά είναι λίγο. Όμως είναι το ποδόσφαιρο που χάρη σε αυτό μπόρεσα να δημιουργήσω μια οικογένεια. Είναι το ποδόσφαιρο το οποίο δεν με άφησε να εμπλακώ ή να μπω στα ναρκωτικά, στο αλκοόλ. Και θα έλεγα τελικά ότι το μεγαλύτερο, το καλύτερο γκολ της ζωής μου είναι αυτό.
Τζόρντι, να μείνουμε στα παιδιά.
Jordi, let's talk about children. How can football affect children? What are the values in football? From a semiotic point of view, how does football affect children, especially when they are alone? Well, let me stress that yes, what Edmilson said is true. But this is what football is. It's not just a sport, it's not just a game. It's the people, the players. The people that make football what it is today. The people at Fundación Barcelona are proud because we work for values, the same values that Edmilson works for. It's not just our Fundación, there are many other bodies and organizations, many players who help through different structures. We all need to give something back from what we have taken from football. So this pays tribute to all those who have engaged with football.
Αλλά πάνω απ' όλα είναι άτομα. Και είναι άτομα τα οποία κάνουν αυτά που είδατε. Στην Μπαρσελώνα έχουμε ακριβώς άτομα και μέσω της δουλειάς τους τα άτομα αυτά μπορέσαν να κάνουν ιδρύματα, όπως αυτό που είδατε. Έχουμε το Ίδρυμα Κρόιφ, έχουμε το Ίδρυμα του Βιδάλ, έχουμε το Ίδρυμα Μέση και πραγματικά είναι τιμή να έχουμε τα άτομα αυτά, δεδομένου ότι δημιουργούν με αυτό που κάνουν, χάρη στο ποδόσφαιρο, κάτι σημαντικό και δείχνουν πέρα από το ποδόσφαιρο πόσο μεγάλοι άνθρωποι είναι.
Antes estamos hablando.
We had started discussing social exclusion, xenophobia, racism, all these phenomena. Well, football is here to kill racism, to destroy racism. Football for young people here or elsewhere, and mind you, we work in many countries with more racism than in Spain. Well, where we work, racism recedes. So it's also about social exclusion, about injustice, but football helps children emulate the example of players, and then they become better adults. When I was a boy, well, football was just a game. Today it is a culture.
Και θα έλεγα ότι το ποδόσφαιρο έρχεται να σκοτώσει το ρατσισμό. Δουλεύουμε σε 53 χώρες του κόσμου και ακριβώς η διαφορά είναι ότι χάρη στο ποδόσφαιρο, μέσω του ποδοσφαίρου μπορούμε να νικήσουμε όλες αυτές τις καταστάσεις. Και ασχολούμαστε με παιδιά. Τα παιδιά ουσιαστικά δεν ευθύνονται για αυτά τα οποία κάνουμε εμείς οι μεγάλοι. Ουσιαστικά, λοιπόν, αυτό που προσπαθούμε μέσω του ποδοσφαίρου είναι να δώσουμε αξίες. Γιατί το ποδόσφαιρο είναι αξίες.
Θέλω σε αυτό το σημείο να παρακολουθήσουμε.
At this point, let's watch a video. Especially for those of you who are not familiar with the work of the Barcelona Foundation, aiming at social inclusion and social reintegration for children who have left their country, who are unaccompanied in a foreign country. So let's watch the video. I'm Carlene. They call me Coco because Carlene is too Dutch.
To remember that. At Karateka, I am a sports and football coordinator and also responsible for the football net program. I've learned that teaching refugee children is different than any other group of children because there's so many cultural differences and so many, there's very often a language barrier. So it's, for me, it was a challenge.
Vaig començar amb la Fundació Futbol Club Barcelona fa 7 anys i és una experiència.
Being here is a wonderful experience. You can offer, you can contribute to such an extent that you cannot tell whether you help children or they help you change. Football Net is a program of the FC Barcelona Foundation in 3 stages, aiming at promoting educational values through sport. Games are in 3 parts. The children first learn the rules of the game, then they simply play football, and then at the end they evaluate and discuss what they learned from the game in relation with values and the rules we set in the beginning.
About football, about teamwork and something like that. And then we play match, and then we go to play football. But we are speaker group, and then we go.
Within the football net program, we have a very big variety of children. We have ages between 6 and 18. For instance, we have 2 boys. One is from Zimbabwe and the other one is from Iran, and they became best friends. And so they originally don't share the same language, but through the program, they became really close friends.
But Barcelona Foundation with us keeps the respect and the third grade of life, because in the life in the third grade.
Aquests nanos ens agraeixen molt el fet de poder tenir una activitat que estigui organitzada.
Children like teamwork. They like when they are free to express their opinion. They are grateful they can make friends and enjoy their favorite game. When we are on the spot, they will always ask, when is the next training? So they need football.
Very relaxed. When I will come home and then I sit and then very relaxed. The football is good for me, and I like football, and I don't like swimming, like guitars. I don't like. I like that stuff.
I think one of the best ones was in a tournament where you see that they are all one, they're all united, and our team is also called Karate United. And you can even say that even when they're coaching each other, it will happen in a split second, and they understand each other. It makes it visual that they understand, what teamwork is and how to have respect and everything. They all love Barcelona. There's maybe 1% that says no, Real, but they all love Barcelona.
I don't like to play with Real. I like play with Barcelona.
Quan veuen que de cop venen uns jugadors aquí en el mateix camp de Karate i són del Barça, tothom està molt exaltat, molt emocionat, no? Estan feliços de veure que el Barça es preocupa per ells, que el Barça no només està a la televisió, el Barça també ve aquí i també els hi dona suport.
We have heroes from Barcelona team, Messi and all the others. Do you know what happened here with Barcelona when Barcelona come and visit this place? Oh my God! It's from the happiness and best day from this side.
These are very encouraging programs. Whenever you have someone like Barcelona coming forward and saying, these are people that are coming from conflict zones, they're fleeing persecution, human rights violations, we need to step up and show them that we are supporting them and give them something tangible, a program that they can see really helps them on the day-to-day.
L'objectiu principal de Futbol Net aquí en els camps de refugiats, a més d'oferir pràctica esportiva i aprenentatge en valors, també es busca un objectiu de barrejar la comunitat local amb la comunitat refugiada, principalment per pal·liar les tensions que poden aparèixer entre aquestes dues comunitats. Perquè, evidentment, és conegut que hi ha tensions en l'arribada massiva de refugiats i quan s'incrementa tant aquesta població. I amb el futbol i l'esport en general està demostrat que els participants tenen la possibilitat de jugar i quan jugues no hi ha diferència de nacionalitats. Aquí és on els pares poden ser-hi presents durant les sessions i adonar-se'n també que finalment no hi ha una diferència, tots són persones i tots ens agrada jugar i quan juguem no fem cap diferència.
Of course I have days where I feel really sad and upset, but seeing them so happy when they're playing and having fun or playing a tournament and all united as one
team, for me that's outweighs the negative part of it or the sadness of it often.
The best gift is the smiles in the face of children. You can see here that they are happy. They feel protection, they feel protected from what happens in their countries. And then they can play, they can smile, they can be free again.
Από τα λίγα που...
So I know some things, and I know that a referee constantly intervenes in the game. Krisa Kouroubilia has not spoken much. She's been given less time than the other speakers. We want to listen to you, Krisa, and I want to ask you a question, and this is addressed to all the speakers as well. A lot of people, when they look at Greek football, have a bad impression regarding Greek football. So what I'd like to ask you is whether this is actually the case, whether it's not true, whether it's fake news or misinformation. So if this only happens here, whether this happens in other countries of the world as well, can you tell us who's to blame for this situation, if it is true? Because I think that everyone from his or her position may have wondered what's to blame for what's happening in Greek football. We all live here, we all hear things, we all see things. So I think that people involved in football must be concerned about what's happening. And of course, we admit that something is actually happening and whether something can change. The truth is The role of the referee is not a pleasant one. Just imagine a football match without the referee. That's not possible. It can't happen. And believe me, no referee wants to be the protagonist in a football game. We want the players to play the leading role. We want to be inconspicuous. But a referee is called upon to make a lot of decisions in the space of 90 minutes. It's not just the penalty. It's also letting the game continue. It's not just an offside. It's also allowing an onside to continue, to move forward. So I think that we're trying to do our best. We are trained. We've been properly trained. We love our job. And we never want to interfere in the game. We want to enjoy the game. But we don't want problems to be created because of a wrong decision on our part. But it's always the referee's fault. Somebody has to be blamed. A lot of times the referee is at fault. The role of referee is a difficult role, but we are actually doing difficult things. That's what we count out for. And now we have new technology. New technology minimizes the possibility of error. But in football, there are errors, and people must accept that. They can't always blame it on the referee and say that it's the referee's fault, that the referee's to blame. We're only human. Now, a question. I have read a lot about you. I've listened to what's happening, and I've been listening to you now, and I really admire you. And I don't know what it's like to be a referee. I don't know. But you keep talking about humans. Aren't humans actually vulnerable? And sometimes when you hear people screaming at you, you actually feel very bad, very low. This is something we've seen on TV. I know we go through we have a hard time, a tough time. But what makes you continue? Well, I love my job. I'm dedicated to it. And I think that a footballer who actually misses a chance to score and everybody's screaming at him, that we feel the same. But as years go by, you learn to ignore those around you. You don't hear anything that's happening around you. You're so focused. What about Greek football? Is everything perfect in Greek football? Is everything perfect? Alexandros, unfortunately, I think we're light years away from creating something like Ed Milson Foundation and Barcelona Foundation. And it's an honor to be here with these foundations. And when we think about the situation in Greek football for the last 20-odd years, Greek football has undergone a terrible crisis. And personally speaking, I don't see the way out of this crisis. I don't know how we're going to exit this crisis. There are certain monopolies. Crisa is a great exception when it comes to referees. Every weekend we go to the football stadium and we see a lot of different things happening there, sometimes not so good. So instead of having this long discussion on Greek football, I'd like to ask Jordi and Ed Milson if we just say to them that Greek football is going through a huge crisis for 20 years and we see no light at the end of the tunnel, what would they advise us? What problems did you have to overcome in your countries? Or maybe football like Greek football, which is totally corrupt, and I said totalmente corrupto. Maybe there's no chance of improving the situation. So you said totally corrupt, that Greek football is totally corrupt. So is it a lost cause? Can't it be ever resolved? Let me first say that I believe that wherever there's a crisis, we have to try to find solutions. There's always such a need, a necessity. I don't know if it's a matter of training, if it's a matter of skills, whether talents can be identified and promoted, or whether there are administrative issues or other problems. I know what happened in Barcelona. In Brazil, when we lost the Mundial and when Germany got the upper hand, immediately a lot of people became vigilant and alert. So we need to improve. Wherever there's a gap, we need to bridge the gap. And I'm not only talking about the national team in Brazil, I'm talking about the football world in Brazil. Slowly but surely, we're improving ourselves. Wherever we have gaps or deficits, we try to overcome them. So things evolve. We're talking about education, about training, about how things are handled in society. And let's not forget that football has an educational, formative role to play. And this is what we're trying to do, what we're trying to promote.
Αυτό που κάνεις είναι να ψάχνεις λύσεις. Και η λύση θα ήταν η εξερεύνηση, η δημιουργία νέων ταλέντων, αλλά επίσης, και θα μας πει ο Τζόρντι, και από το διοικητικό κομμάτι θα μας πει τι έκανε η Μπαρτσελώνα. Όταν το 2014 η Βραζιλία έχει χάσει από τη Γερμανία, προσπαθήσαμε λοιπόν πάλι να βελτιώσουμε, να αναπτύξουμε το βραζιλιάνικο πρωτάθλημα. Και όταν λέω το βραζιλιάνικο πρωτάθλημα εννοώ όχι μόνο το βραζιλιάνικο ποδόσφαιρο, αλλά και το πρωτάθλημα, τη Λίγκα, το πρωτάθλημα της Βραζιλίας. Και βεβαίως μπήκαν και άλλες σημαντικές σταθερές, όπως είναι η κατάρτιση, η κοινωνική επίσης ενσωμάτωση, για να μπορέσουμε να αυξήσουμε, να ψηλώσουμε το επίπεδο.
So I would like to say that it's difficult to offer advice, particularly when you don't know the circumstances in a country. I know that there's always room for improvement in Greek football. So I think that the governments need to assume their role. What's happening at the level of a national team and what's happening as far as officials are concerned and those in charge of FCs, football clubs, that is. So I think that there needs to be a focus. The football academies need to work together with the appropriate bodies, with all stakeholders, and everybody should play their rightful role. I think you deserve to be responsible because people who have the money to buy a football club should play a leading role because football belongs to the people. So Greek football belongs to the Greek people. And this is why I ask the politicians to show responsibility, to be modest, to be humble. Football is passion, it's emotions, it's development, it's evolution. And those in charge of managing football should have empathy. They should show empathy and then serve their own interests. That comes second.
Δύσκολο να δώσεις συμβουλές όταν δεν γνωρίζεις τα τεκτενόμενα, όταν δεν γνωρίζεις καλά το τι συμβαίνει μέσα στη χώρα. Όμως θα έλεγα ότι αυτό πρέπει να βρίσκεται στα χέρια των κυβερνήσεων, στα χέρια της Ποδοσφαιρικής Ομοσπονδίας, στα χέρια των παραγόντων, οι οποίοι όλοι μαζί πρέπει να έχουν πίστη και να έχουν μια αγαστή συνεργασία μεταξύ τους, ώστε οι υπεύθυνοι να είναι πραγματικά αυτό που λέει η λέξη, να είναι οι υπεύθυνοι. Και δεν είναι όποιος έχει τα χρήματα να μπορεί να είναι ο υπεύθυνος, γιατί ουσιαστικά το ποδόσφαιρο είναι ένα λαϊκό άθλημα, ανήκει στο λαό. Άρα λοιπόν και οι πολιτικοί πρέπει να δράσουν με τη σειρά τους για αυτό που είναι ποδόσφαιρο, και το ποδόσφαιρο είναι πάθος, είναι ανάπτυξη, είναι όλα αυτά τα οποία πρέπει να έχει κανένας υπόψη του, και ουσιαστικά η δράση πρέπει να είναι σκεπτόμενη το ποδόσφαιρο για όλο τον κόσμο, για τον λαό, για τους άλλους.
Αντώνη.
Antonis? I thought about the question posed by Mr. Kitroev. I think he was addressing the people who are with us today, and it's not that we don't recognize that they're in a better situation than us, but we ask them what's to blame in the case of Greek football. I think that football mirrors society. It's a reflection of the society of the country. So, as I said, it just reflects society. So right now, Greece encounters serious problems, financial problems, organizational problems, and many other problems. We're aware of them. So how could football be okay when everything else isn't? When society is problematic. Let me just say that we see that the presidents are in charge of our country, whereas everywhere else it's the footballers that are the leaders. I don't know if the president of FC Barcelona, but a president of a little club in Greece is well known to everybody. And I think this is the fault of the mass media. And we know that everybody has an opinion here. But if somebody has an opinion, they cast them aside. Because I was involved in Panathinaikos, I was the executive vice president from 2008 to 2010. We did well for a while. We got the double, but we had to leave. We never understood why we had to leave. They came up with various excuses. Now, one other thing. I'm talking about academies and promoting academies. I've been 50 years in Panathinaikos and I haven't watched indigenous footballers being promoted by the academies from Bassinas, Karagouni's time and Goumas' time and the goalkeeper, Kostas. What's his name? I don't remember. A goalie, anyway. So 4 people were indigenous, 4 people were Greek. This was 25 years ago. So for 25 years now, we haven't had one person coming from the academies and actually having a great career. So they came and left. We're not helping them, really. We're not helping them. I'm not talking about what's happening in the last few years. I don't want to talk about this. I'm talking about the last 20 years. So we do have a serious problem. There's a credibility problem. So football, it's all linked to the state. It's not up to the footballers. It's not up to the referees. It's a matter of culture. It's a matter of education. It's a matter of Olympic education. So we can't say that Greek football is ailing. How can it do well? We have academies competing against one another, and we're talking about the age groups of 8, 10, 12, 14, and the parents, the fathers are fighting and hitting each other in the stands. So this is not right. So we see things from a wrong viewpoint. Football is happiness. Football means cooperation. Football is a game. This is why it's good for the youth. And this is why we want people to encourage their children to take up sport, not to become professionals, because very few will end up being professionals. So professional sport is expressed, well, it's 8% of the entire world population. Only 8% are professionals. The rest are amateurs. So sport is the best way to stop evils plaguing society, smoking, drugs, and alcohol. It's the best way to stop all these problems. So people who are involved in sports will not drink, they will not smoke, they won't take drugs, they're tired from exercise and they'll go to bed. But all this needs to be organized. We need people who are in the know and who love football. So people who think they have money think they know everything. This is a serious problem. People who say they've got money think they can run an FC. This is totally wrong. And if they don't know how to run a football club, then they can ask other people who know for advice. People who know, for example, Bimis Domazos, the best Greek footballer, and I'm being emotional because we belong to the same team. Couldn't he find 50 talents and then he could actually make his money pay off? So he talks, and if you talk, you're not allowed to participate. We say things we're not listened to. We can't be decorative elements. I was president for 42 years. I played ball for 19 years. Professionally, from Xanthi to Panathinaikos, we went to Webley. I don't to mention this. This is not the right time to speak about myself, but we're being ignored. Nobody is asking us our view on the matter. And sometimes we're on the board and we would read out a decision about the football team we belong to from the press, an article in the press. That's not how things should be done. We talked about state, we talked about the various officials and those involved in the world of football. So we need to have the laws, but they need to to be enforced because there's justice in football. Of course, it's not always the best man who wins. This is why football is the king of sport and the mother is track and field. That's what I had to say. Those involved in team sports know that football is king. So it's a very democratic sport, and this was something we've already mentioned. So everybody can play football. There's no exclusion, but we see that there is no racism at its foundation. I was president for many years. I participated in a committee. I was president of the AF. I participated in TRV in Strasbourg, representing Greece in the racist committee, meaning against racism, xenophobia, and violence in the fields. And we talked about respective problems in our own countries. Now we started having foreigners entering Greek football from 1972 onwards, and we had people from the EU, and then with the Bosman decision, and the vice president knows this, where we didn't want to have long-term contracts, and sometimes we were actually stuck with somebody once we signed a contract. And then the Bosman decision came, and because we are EU citizens, we have the right to free movement of persons. And then certain obstacles were set, and then there was liberalization. Everything was deregulated. And when we played against Ajax in Wembley, there were only Greeks in our national team. Now, if a Greek team goes to play in Europe, in UEFA, for example, there are 7 or 8 foreigners in any football team participating in World Cup. And I'd like to say that what else is strange in our country? We get people from another country, and they're worse than our players, and they actually are signed on. There are many things. I don't want to say all this. I think I'm trying to enjoy myself here as well, but in football FC, we like Real. It's not that we don't like Barcelona, but when we went to Wembley, we had Ferenc Puskas as our coach. Ferenc Puskas, he was our coach when we made it to Wembley, and we were with Real. But we still love you. We still love Barcelona, nevertheless. Thank you.
Antonis, what's your take on Greek football? The role of the media? Well, I have a question for you. What if we discussed local government with the participation of anybody and everybody but the mayors themselves? Why am I saying this? Because we can keep talking until tomorrow morning, but if you haven't managed a club, if you haven't been involved professionally with football, you cannot really talk about football. Why am I saying this? Because most of the criticism comes from people who ignore completely the way a club must be managed, what football means at the end of the day. The last 20 years were terrible. Yes, of course, with the exception of 2004. 2008, we were at the Euro. And 4 years ago, but a penalty, we were among the 8 best teams in the world. We also saw great players in Greek stadia. Why? But why do we keep saying these years have been terrible, despite all these victories, all these distinctions? Yes, of course, okay, Wembley, 1971, yes, that was something. That was how many years ago? And then it was 1996 again with Panathinaikos. So why are we so unhappy about Greek football? Just because our team has not won any championship? So let's be realistic. You may remember the gang that was reigning Greek football. Yes, everyone was talking about gang A or gang B. Were there gangs around? Yes or not? Was there a monopoly in the Greek championship? How could a team keep bribing referees in order to remain the champion for 20 years, rigging games? This is the problem. Greek football was reigned by gangs. I'm sorry, even Panathinaikos was present. Panathinaikos is part of Greek football. So I will caution the speakers because they are speaking at the same time. We cannot understand what you are saying. I'm sorry, this is the lowest point for Greek football. We have reached rock bottom. So let me speak. We have 7 teams who cannot receive €1 for their transmission, broadcasting rights. Because no one is interested in broadcasting Greek football. I'm sorry, if this is the case, then we have no football. The world is changing. Broadcasting rights cost millions and millions, and here there's no demand. No one is interested in broadcasting Greek football. And this, yes, this is dramatic. So next time we decide to talk about football, let's bring the people who manage Greek football and let them explain why we have hit rock bottom. Dear Antonis, I'm saying that these last 20 years have not been so bad at the end of the day. Antoniadis. Yes, but there are no rules. Try to enforce rules. And then journalists, are they another gang or what? Of course there is a journalist gang. Greece is a gang, if you will, since 1974. But anyway, that's a long story. Then let's not punish ourselves. Self-castigating doesn't lead anywhere. So is there violence? Yes, of course there is violence, but there's no more violence compared to 1980. Remember, Antonis? People were running away to escape violence. And now we have flares, and when in the 1980s there were razors in oranges thrown from the stands. It was much worse. Okay, we might not be happy about our team, but that's another story. Self-castigating, as I said, doesn't lead anywhere. Football doesn't generate violence. Violence is a social phenomenon. That is why I said football is the mirror of our society. We have squatting every day, we have riots, we have demonstrations, we have rallies, and recently some wear helmets in the pitch. Why? Yes, of course, but these are the people who create the problems. So it's not the problem of football. Football and real funds do not attack the police. We're talking about a small minority of hooligans, which is tolerated. By whom? By the state, because the state does not enforce rules. The other day in Panathinaikos Park, I was there. Someone did impossible things. Did we ever arrest anyone? Did we punish anyone? Well, they lost the championship. Did we ever arrest anyone? Yes, says Karpetopoulos. Both were arrested, but no one was punished. So whose fault is it? It is the fault of the state. It is the state that we should blame. I'm sorry. This is the truth. Impunity is the problem, says Mr. Antoniadis. Any questions from the floor, from the public here? You're all guests here, and this is part of the way we have organized the discussion. You're free to ask questions, you're free to follow. So if anyone wants to ask a question, please use the microphone, the portable microphone. But very quickly, just a short interjection for my friend Antonis Karpetopoulos. We must strike a balance. We cannot just complain or just be happy about everything. Karpetopoulos. I'm saying that all these blanket statements do not lead anywhere. That's what I said. Because people, especially foreign friends, will start wondering, how did you win the Euro in 2004? You probably did something right. I'm saying, of course there are problems, yes. I fully agree with that. Huge problems. But no one has to offer a solution. I don't have a solution, and I'm sure no one other has. But self-castigating doesn't mean anything. Of course, we were not happy that we were not at the World Cup. Yes, that was not good. Are you happy now because we were punished? Well, we had Belgium and Croatia. Of course, someone will qualify instead of us. The last time we played against Croatia again. So let's agree on what we want to do with our football. Do we want to make it showbiz? Well, in that case, we need money, as in Western Europe. You cannot play millionaire with broadcasting rights. We need to work with the academies. We need to get organized. But let's give the floor to one of our guests. Good afternoon. The gentleman over there, Mr. Antoniadis, said that there's impunity in Greece, in sport and in general. There is impunity. And only enforcement of rules could lead us to a solution. For some real results. We need rules. When we punish, when we reward people. So you agree with me? Yes, yes. What I'm saying is that I agree with you. What I'm saying is that rules should be enforced both ways. If someone kills someone, if there is a foul, whatever, it's the same. That rules should be enforced in all cases. Any other questions from the audience? The gentleman over there, but please wait for the microphone.
Δεν ξέρω, Ed Milson, μιας και ο κόσμος...
Ed Milson, of course, people would love to hear more from you. What is your take on what you've just heard concerning Greek football? Have you heard anything about Greek football? I'm not saying that you are familiar with Greek football, but have you heard anything about Greek football? No, we do know quite a lot about Greece. Many Brazilian players have played in Greece. The truth is that I keep hearing less and less about foreign players in Greece. Well, look, for someone to come to Greece or to play in any country, he should be better than the local players. That's the whole purpose. So, first, I think we would need, how shall I put it, a reform committee. Then the federation should do its homework, and then we should all seek together solutions where we can improve. The fans love football. We should put our home in order so that fans can watch beautiful football. So for me, once again, I would start with a proper committee. That's what our federation did in Brazil. We created a really nice committee, and then this committee could improve Greek football. In any event, we love Greek football in Brazil.
Η Βραζιλία έχουν παίξει στο ελληνικό πρωτάθλημα. Βεβαίως τα τελευταία χρόνια βλέπουμε λιγότερους σχετικά, διότι για να μπορέσει να παίξει κάποιος πρέπει αυτός που θα έλθει να είναι καλύτερος από το υλικό που ήδη υπάρχει εδώ. Αλλά πρέπει να δούμε όλοι μαζί και πρέπει να δει και η Ομοσπονδία τι χρειάζεται για να βελτιωθούν τα πράγματα. Πρέπει ουσιαστικά δηλαδή να εξετάσει τομείς που χρήζουν βελτίωσης. Οι φύλαθλοι εδώ είναι φύλαθλοι με πολύ μεγάλη αγάπη, με πολύ πάθος, αλλά αυτό το οποίο χρειάζεται είναι να δημιουργηθεί μια επιτροπή με σκοπό να αλλάξει τα κακό κείμενα. Στην Βραζιλία δημιουργήσαμε μια επιτροπή η οποία σκοπό είχε να βελτιώσει την κατάσταση. Άρα λοιπόν θεωρώ ότι και εδώ θα πρέπει σαν ένα έναυσμα να δημιουργηθεί μια επιτροπή η οποία να μπορέσει να βελτιώσει τα κακό κείμενα του ελληνικού ποδοσφαίρου.
Θα το ρωτήσετε παρακαλώ από ποια μέλη.
Please ask him who were the members of the committee created in Brazil. Well, the members were players, veteran players, Torres, from the 1970 World Cup, Ricardo Rosa. 1994, he was the champion. I was there too. We had also presidents from a Rio football club, we had lawyers for the purpose of drafting a proper statute for the federation. Then we discussed ideas about internationalizing our football, improving the academies, etc. We had 17 members in that committee from various walks of life. And then we created the work groups to carry out our work.
Και ο ίδιος ο Εντ Μίλσον. Και παράλληλα πλαισιωνόταν η επιτροπή αυτή από προέδρους όπως ήταν ο πρόεδρος της Ρίο, όπως ήταν ο πρόεδρος της Μποταφόγκο. Επίσης υπήρχαν δικηγόροι, νομομαθείς, νομικοί, οι οποίοι ασχολήθηκαν με τις αλλαγές που θα μπορούσαν να γίνουν, διεθνοποίηση του ποδοσφαίρου και βεβαίως στόχους για τη βελτίωση των φυτορίων. Τελικά ήταν στο σύνολο 17 μέλη που απάρτησαν τη συγκεκριμένη επιτροπή.
Pero una cuestión solo, pero
And last but not least, when we engage with the reform, you know, someone will be on the losing end. Could be the TV or manager or the federation board. Someone might lose something. So politicians should be ready to make decisions. But you need those who have the experience. But football is very important. It is definitely more important than each one of us.
Και όποιοι είναι πάρα πολλά χρόνια θα πρέπει να καταλάβουν ότι πρέπει να αποχωρήσουν, να δώσουν την θέση τους σε κάποιους άλλους. Γιατί ουσιαστικά θα πρέπει να δουν ότι ναι, υπάρχει κάποιος άλλος ο οποίος μπορεί να κάνει μια δουλειά καλύτερη πλέον από αυτή που μέχρι τώρα έκανα εγώ.
Για να ακούσουμε και εσάς, ενώ σιγά σιγά...
Well, another friend from the audience. Good afternoon.
I would agree with Mr. Antoniadis and Mr. Karpetopoulos. It's just that here in Greece we don't take advantage of the events, meaning we held the Olympic Games, but the stadiums have been abandoned. In 2004, we had the Pan-European, and nothing came out of it. There have been no academies. No academies have been set up. I'm a Panathinaikos football fan, and as Mr. Antoniadis said, the last batch was Angelos Bassinas, Kostas Karagounis for Panathinaikos. He mentioned these great players. I believe that we don't take advantage of the circumstances. We just leave this and don't take advantage of it. That's the problem. Thank you. here, the gentleman would like to say something. Hello. First of all, Andoni Karpetopoulos, you are a very good writer, an excellent writer, but you're not a footballer. So the people here, Mr. Antoniadis, Domazos, Saganis, they've broken their legs. They have actually played hard. I'm also from Panathinaikos, you're Olympiacos, a fan of Olympiacos. Let's go before 2004, with the Pan-European, we had Rizupoli. I was in the US then. And I remember Antoniadis in Stira in 75 on the bench, and we used to play football on the beach, in the sand. I remember Domazos in an AEK Panathinaikos game where he took off the jersey and Papanoianu told him to put it back on because otherwise he'd get a card. Things have changed a lot since then. Society has changed a lot. Let's not close our eyes. We know what happened back then for 10 years. But let's be objective. Let's see what's rotten out there. And we heard about being a gang or having a gang. And I remember what happened back with Banks and Antoniadis and his goal and the goal with Everton. I'd seen that. And I remember what happened at Alexandras, which was the rematch, and everybody remembers what happened in Wembley and the goal post by Karasic, and I remember what happened with Mitropoulos, and let's talk about that. And we see that we had Economopoulos scoring from the corner, and then we see what happened, and the ball fell out of the pitch. But I want to talk about Papayano and Domazo. This is what we experienced back when we were children, but all this was lost. But you are clever, Adonis Karpetopoulos. You're really sleek, and I'm sure you'll find out what went wrong and how we can improve things. Good evening. I'm younger, somewhat younger, but I've come here with my son. My son is 11, by the way, and I wanted him to meet people I respected, my idols, my role models, my parents, my father's role models. But because he plays ball, I wanted to show him how great a joy one can get out of playing football. So we actually were off topic because something always happens, and we sometimes get carried away and say things that are off topic. So the thing is, though, that we've lost what we had at first, the joy from participating in football. I was Panathinaikos. I went with my child to the stadium, and because my arts were stinging, I left. I didn't like the spectacle, and I remember my child playing football at the age of 6, 7, and there was an opposing team, and all the children from both teams used to leave, and they were holding hands, and they were embracing one another, but the parents had big fights, whereas the children had a good time together. And quite rightly, everybody talks about the managers and those involved in football. Now, the question is, have we actually put aside whatever's not part of football and to really try and enjoy a football match? Have we ever done this? Have we ever taken joy out of watching football? Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Andreas. Let's just wrap up on a happy note, because we have with us Ed Milson, not as a football player, but as a human being. And let us use him as an example and try to follow in his footsteps. Let me thank the Barcelona FC for everything they've been doing and for the excellent collaboration we've had. And football doesn't die. It never dies. We will die, but football will never die. So the question is, what can all of us do? We can all have our own respective roles. So what can we do to have better football? And as Andoni said, this is good for society, because football is the mirror of society. And this has been the case for the last 30, 40 years, because we know that society in Greece has problems. We've lost our values, and this can be seen in football. And it's what you said, Spiros. What Mimi is something you won't see today. So let's leave on a note of optimism and on a happier note. So who's going to win on Sunday? Any predictions? You took it out of my mouth. That's what I was going to ask. Why don't you answer first? So I think that Croatia will be the winner. Why? Because it's its time. And Modric reminds me of Iniesta in 2010 when Spain won. Can a player do everything by himself? No, but just like Iniesta, Modest now represents the very soul of Croatia. They're tired. Croatia is tired. I hope that science will help them. French may have the better team, but they're still young. Krisa.
Well, I'm not good with forecasts, but I also believe Croatia will win the cup. Ed Wilson? Although that was... No, I leave you to answer last. Jordi? Well, I will be politically correct. Have players with both teams, so I hope that we will just watch a good match.
Το ποδόσφαιρο.
Αντώνη, τι βλέπεις?
Antonis, what's your opinion? What do you wish? I would like to see France winning, and I think France will win the World Cup. Because it's a miniature of Europe and also of the new world that we should not fear. And by the way, about Brazil, we all think that Brazil is populated by people who keep playing football and dancing. Well, in Brazil, people have a great relationship with football and education. They have connected football with education. And I remember after the last World Cup, Ronaldo apologized to parents of children, saying that they were responsible for the ruin of an entire generation. And they apologized for that. So I don't know if there's a magic way for us to learn from the Brazilian experience. Football could become educational. If we could achieve that, we would have resolved half of the problems of Greek football. Alexandros. We should face problems seriously, and then we will find solutions. Now, my focus about Sunday. I will agree for the first time tonight with Antonis Karpetopoulos. I think, yes, it will be France. Antonis Antoniadis. I feel that France, at the end, will win because they're more consistent in all their lines. Great attack, and also they defend very well. So I think they will win. It's just focused. I'm not in favor of either team, but I think the French will prevail. And one thing for parents, you send your children to the academies. Don't force your children to become Wilson or Tomas or Papaioannou. They go to the academies for other things. They need to learn to cooperate, to work together, to be consistent, to tell the truth, to build their character. This is sport. Responsibility, consistency, and cooperation. This is the essence, the very essence of sport. So we have 4 votes for France, 2 for Croatia, 1 neutral at Wilson. Well, I think that France is a better team, but I think Croatia will win. I support Croatia.
Ούτε κανονισμένο.
Νομίζω ότι εσύ θα κρίνεις τώρα το...
Well, Anna, it's your turn for our vote have a result to tip the balance in favor of either team. Well, no, I will not make a forecast. Thank you very much for the dialogue, for tonight's dialogue. Jordi?
To bring you something from Barcelona. I know you know this is our shirt. I want absolutely to thank you to all your team. We'll feel like at home, and we'll learn from you, from your people, and from Greece. I'm convinced that probably you have to improve in your professional football, but you have the base, you have the kids, and you have the talent. So thank you very much. Perdona.
Thank you very much for all the collaboration and all the good stuff.
Άννα.
Thank you.
Μισό λεπτάκι να καθίσουν οι άνθρωποι και θα το πω. Δεν πρέπει να καθίσουν. Θέλει να...
So, Mr. Antoniadis wants to present you with a gift. He wants to present his book to Edmilson and Jordi. The book has been published in both Greek and English. English for our guests, with an autograph from Antonis Antoniadis.
Τον ρωτάω αν έχει και καμιά φωτογραφία όταν έπαιξε.
I was asking Antoniadis whether he has pictures from the time he was playing for Olympiacos, because I'm also Olympiacos.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to those who followed through web streaming. In a few days, you will be able to watch this discussion on our website, snfcc.org. But our dialogues, after we take some vacation, will also be here during August. We'll say goodbye to this season in a special way. You will know more soon. We will also dance, we'll have fun, we'll enjoy our tradition. So on the 31st of August, we'll say goodbye to summer with a big party about Greek tradition and Greek customs, Greek festivities. Thank you for wearing the shirt of the Barcelona Foundation. Those who haven't received the shirt, please get one on your way out. Thank you.